Competitive shooters have generally been analogous to each other in terms of layout. In this kind of game, you can usually count on the basic deathmatch, progression system, and set of rather annoying children throwing random, obscene insults at each other. Nintendo has decided to enter that market, and the results are something that shakes up the formula. Splatoon still derives attributes from those other games in its design, but places an emphasis on shooting with ink, not bullets. In the end, it makes up for a unique experience in Nintendo's first new IP in years. The mechanics of Splatoon apply to all portions of the game. It takes the form of a third-person shooter, even to the point where it contains just about every sort of cliché weapon you'd expect the genre to contain. Of course, all of this is morphed with Nintendo's ink-based twist on the concept. One of the main traversal methods formed from this concept is turning into a squid to move faster within the ink of your own color. In addition to this, it's worth noting that Splatoon is a gamepad-focused Wii U game, with a few of its own extra features. First is the ability to view a map always displayed on the bottom of the gamepad. Perhaps most importantly of all is the ability to use motion controls for the X-axis. Personally, I found this to be a bit unreliable and awkward due to the sensitivity, but some people have found it satisfactory. Splatoon is broken up into two main portions: an action platformer hybrid and single player, and a cooperative turf war multiplayer. Its core single player experience devises a simple story, based around rescuing the Great Zapfish, Angopolis' source of power from the evil Octarians. From there, the main campaign arises, which is surprisingly solid. All of these levels are formatted in a way akin to a Super Mario Galaxy game, but its gameplay elements are similar to a Ratchet & Clank game. Each level has you traversing through its linear layout, with the goal of obtaining a Zapfish at the end, the equivalent of a Mario Star. On each section of the map, there's a small challenge you must complete, which usually revolves around either strategically gunning down every enemy or traversing through its ink-related platforms, very similar to the mechanics of Ratchet & Clank. You only get one gun for this game, in contrast to Ratchet & Clank's vast array of weapons, but the game instead contains its own upgrade system specifically designed for single player. For instance, you can upgrade the gun's rate of fire, reload time, and obtain a few new grenade equivalents. All of these are adequately incorporated, and while it certainly does not make for a sense of variety, the campaign is short enough for that to get a pass. However, the actual levels, as brief as they are, can become repetitive. Every section has accompanying levels that follow the same general layouts. There will be some tornado guy to mess you up. There will be your typical puzzle platforming components, and you can count on a boss concluding every section. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy these moments, albeit reiterated too much, but the highlights were almost always the bosses. Sure, they almost always follow the rule of 3, but they vary enough in terms of tactics to be engaging through each fight. Specifically, the final boss in this game is outstanding. I wasn't expecting the difficulty spike that high, but it was a perfect final test to represent the entire game. Splatoon has been advertised as mainly a multiplayer game, and it's not without reason. When first dropped into the hub world, it's immediately apparent where the multiplayer-focused items are located, shunning the single-player material in the corner. That said, despite my fondness for the single player, the multiplayer is the reason to own this game. After randomly generating two opposing and contrasting colors, your match is based around 4v4 matches, but with a focus on coating the ground with ink, not shooting others in the face. For 3 minutes, each team frantically tries to cover all areas of territory. The team with the most covered ground by the timer's conclusion is the winner. Your choice of weapon determines your playstyle, as some guns require an emphasis on rapid fire in the back of a level, while others, like the paint roller, have a focus on running to cover as much as ground as possible. This core mode is absolutely entertaining. Some may say addictive, but it also retains the lack of variety that the single-player mode suffers from. As of now, there's a grand total of 5 maps to play on, with 2 being active at an hour at a time. The core concept of this map rotation is fine, but it'll work much better in a system with more maps available. Despite this lack of map variety, it's insignificant when compared to the fun you'll have with the core gameplay. It's a progression system included as well, along with buyable equipment. It all makes up for the best online multiplayer Nintendo has ever done. Splatoon looks like a game right out of the Nickelodeon I grew up with. Its art style is a look that's a bit different from what we've typically seen with Nintendo, with enemy designs that look like a more colorful version of something out of Invader Zim. Despite this, Splatoon still retains Japanese culture within its aesthetic, particularly represented in the hub world. I'd say the music in the game is fitting for the setting, but it's just not something that I would personally listen to outside of the game. Splatoon is an excellent new addition to the Wii U's catalog. It may be starved for content at times, especially when it comes to variety, but the sum of its parts is truly a great game. It's not perfect. I particularly dislike that amiibos lock on this content, but its well-made single-player mode and addictive multiplayer mode is well worth the price of admission. How's it going, guys? I'd like to apologize, actually, for missing an upload week last week. First one I missed since I started this thing in about February, and, I apologize. I actually had 4 videos planned for that week to be released, and all of them fell through. And it was just a complete disaster on my part, and I'm sorry. But, I'd like to give you an update on the state of affairs, I guess. In the summer, there will be more videos coming out, and I don't just mean reviews. There'll be other stuff. We'll be branching into other video game-related videos, and I can't wait to release them to you guys. But I'd like to say about the reviews, I'm going to try from now on to make all of them either games that were released in 2015 or games related to games released in 2015. And by that, I mean, like, I'll be reviewing games like, Grow Home relatively soon. But I have Star Fox 64 coming up, in light of Star Fox Zero coming out at the end of the year. I'll be reviewing Fallout 3 in lieu of Fallout 4. So stuff like that. So I'd just like to give you guys an update, and I hope you guys join me for the summer. Thanks. See you later.